Hello, and welcome to another edition of All or Not According to Jack with your host, Jack Toledano. So, for a while, probably towards the end of 2022, I had promised I was going to bring you a new show, extended out for a couple of, or a new concept rather, extended out for at least a couple of episodes. I decided I'm going to do it in 4 parts. So tonight we are going to give you part one, and wait for it. Let's get to that background. I think you're going to like it. Yes, there it is. Do 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 do. Yes, we are going to talk about Curb Your Enthusiasm with the guy, oops, to over my left shoulder, Mr. the head of Larry David. Almost looks like he's been projected into the sky like the Batman sign, but nope. Whereas Batman was perfect and always said the right thing and always did the wrong thing, Larry David is a complete moron. He doesn't say the right thing. He always does the wrong thing. Uh, Unfortunately, sometimes it's not his fault. Sometimes he's a victim of circumstance, but he always reacts badly to it and always gets himself into further trouble. So basically, the way this format's going to work, I'm going to talk about the first 3 seasons today. I'm going to give you the top 4 episodes of the first 3 seasons. So, and I'm going to do them season by season, similar to what I did with Seinfeld when I went through every season. But this is a little different because there's only 10 episodes per season. There's now 11 seasons. So when I get to my final finale, there's only going to be seasons 10 and 11. But try to maybe get something fun for us to do to add a little time to that. But in any event, you're going to see seasons 1, 2, and 3 tonight, and we're going to talk about it. So let me share my screen. There we are. Curb Your Enthusiasm. So let's look through that. This is just like the cover page, but you got Susie Green always cursing up a storm, always bitching Larry out, even bitching her husband Jeff out. Uh, Leon is freaking hysterical. JB Smooth is his real name, but funny guy. Marty Funkhauser, he's plays a foil for Larry. Uh, his wife Cheryl Hines, or on the show Cheryl David, she plays a foil. She's more of a straight person. I don't find her very funny. I find her to be bitchy sometimes, but what are you going to do? And of course, once we get to season 7, they're going to have something of a Seinfeld reunion, which is really cool. And even some of the non Seinfeld episodes in that season 7 made the top of my list because they're just so damn funny. Of course, this last one, could you imagine a world full of Larry Davids? Oh, pretty good. All right. So let's start with season 1, my top 4. Oh, things being a pain in the ass. Top 4 episodes by season. So this is funny. Wish I could throw a softball at it. Oh, look at there. Season 1. So, for number 4 episode for me was an episode called Amco. I don't know if you remember the old radio commercial. Amco, double A, beep beep, MCO. So, in that episode, Jeff bought a an old car. I think it was a 57 Chevy convertible. And after he kind of shamed Larry for not congratulating him for getting a new car, so they're driving and they're listening to the radio and this commercial Amco beep beep double A beep beep MCO comes on and Larry forgets the commercial, thinks it's actually the guy behind him um, that's that in reality honked his horn, and so Larry turns around and is like, "What the fuck are you honking for, asshole?" So the guy rams the back of Jeff's car, and then there's a clanking noise the rest of the episode, and yeah, too funny. One of those, one of many times Larry gets himself or his immediate friends and family in trouble. Okay, so that's number four. Number three. This was a very funny one. I actually had to rewatch it last night just to get some added content to talk about. It's been a while since I saw this, so this was actually one of the first episodes I ever saw. And so a friend of mine, uh, I had never seen Curb Your Enthusiasm. Of course, I didn't have HBO, but this friend of mine took it upon himself years ago to actually record Curb Your Enthusiasm onto videotape. So he lent me the videotape, and there were a bunch of episodes, and this was one of them. Uh, it's called Porno Gill. So where Larry, what does he do? So a couple things happen, and he he goes to dial somebody. I guess he was trying to talk about a TV show, but he dialed the wrong guy. And then this guy Gil, who goes by the name Gil Bang, that's his stage name or his screen name. But he calls this guy Gil, and Gil invites him over, and he and Cheryl, they're out of place, and they feel out of place. They get directions to this guy's house, and they get lost in the Hollywood Hills and can't find their way. So he stops this old lady, and she's taking too long to try and explain how to get there. So he goes to try and take his directions back. She gets upset. So what does she do? She rips up the directions. So now he's hopelessly lost. Finally makes it there. Uh, the woman, she has this shoes off in the house policy. Of course, Larry doesn't take his shoes off. My feet tend to get cold. So she's already pissed off about that. So then he breaks a lamp. A lamp falls and breaks, and goes the lady, "When you come into my house, you take off your fucking shoes." Oh, too funny. Might I add, people? Yeah. So this is not uh, parental discretion advised, because there's a lot of cursing in this show, and in order for me to properly talk about Curb Your Enthusiasm, I have to do some cursing, which I don't normally curse that much, but once in a while I have to tell the story. So what else happens? So Cheryl gets pissed off at him because she feels out of place because Gil's telling the story. He's telling some of his porno stories because he's a porno actor, and we learn what the word teabagging is. What else happens? Oh, Jeff is in the hospital because I guess he had to have his pacemaker changed, or he had some heart troubles because he's overweight. So he doesn't ask, he begs Larry to go into his house and go into the corner of the bedroom and get his porno collection out of the house in case he dies. So his wife Susie doesn't catch on to the fact that he's been watching porno all along. So what does Larry do? And this had me in hysterics. So he finds the porno collection. He sees the one videotape with his friend Gil Bang. He puts it on, and Jeff's parents come walking into the house and catch him watching the porn. And then credits roll. Do, 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 do. All right. Next episode. Episode my second best episode of season one, the interior decorator. So Larry is trying to hook up with Diane Keaton, who ironically about a week ago I was upstate at my second home and didn't have much to do. I was there by myself, so I actually put on Godfather Part 2, and who was in it? Diane Keaton. So anyway, so Larry's trying to hook up with Diane Keaton. Of course, he's got this movie treatment he's trying to pass through, and he wants her to star in it. Um, and of course, Larry has a bunch of mishaps. So he goes to meet up with his attorney at this office in L.A., and she looks dangerously like the Greek woman in My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Hello, it is the same woman. I don't know her name, but she stars. She has a part as his attorney. Of course, things end badly because she bills him $1,500. He can't, he can afford it, but he didn't want her reading his script and taking notes and all that jazz. But so then here's this multi millionaire. He doesn't have a dime to his name. He can't pay for the parking, so he has a problem with the Asian attendant. What else happens? Uh, so then he gets on the elevator to go up. Oh, that's right. So the attorney is married to his doctor, and he had a problem with his finger, where in the prior episode he got into a tussle with Richard Lewis. They're always arguing. Hard to believe they're friends. Like, must be like Beavis and Butthead. They're always fighting, verbally or otherwise. So he goes to his doctor, gets on the elevator. This heavy-set little girl. He holds the elevator for her. She gets on. So then they get off at on the same floor. He can't get by her in the hallway. She gets into the doctor's office ahead of him, signs in ahead of him. But her appointment was after his appointment, but they took her first because she signed in first and he couldn't get by her. So then on a side note, he this made him late, so he couldn't have his meeting with Diane Keaton. So he tried to call her back. The interior decorator didn't want to, who does work for Diane Keaton, didn't want to give him the what the heck is didn't want to give him Diane's phone number. So then he, breaks it off with the interior decorator, fires her. So then he and Jeff go to Diane Keaton's house. The interior decorator's there. Her name is Carmen, and every time she appears, the Carmen theme from the play is played. So then they get into a fight and they both fall on the floor and they're rolling around and he hurts his finger again. So now he goes back to the doctor. He's sitting in the waiting room. He starts singing, "Bad finger. He's the man with the mightiest touch." Too funny. So the doctor, pissed off at him over the shit with his wife and the girl in the waiting room. And so he finally says, "You want me to work on your finger? You give me your credit card and I'm going to run it through." So then he takes his credit card. "Oh, you're going to get some miles." Too funny. I love the way they just, they deflect from all the stuff that's happening on the show. So anyway, episode 1. Now that I've bored you to death with episode 2, you gotta check these out. They are funny as shit. Oops, I went the wrong way. Episode 1, Beloved Aunt. This one is freaking hysterical. So Larry is so Cheryl's aunt passes away. So they asked Larry to do the obituary for. So he writes the obituary, submits it to the newspaper, and instead of saying devoted sister, beloved aunt, instead it says devoted sister, beloved. Uh, Now you can play the game password or Wheel of Fortune and figure out what that letter was that instead of aunt. I'll give you a hint. In addition, so Cheryl's sister, who also happens to be on the show, what Always Sunny in Philadelphia, uh, Larry, knew that her boyfriend was breaking up with her, and he didn't tell her, and she was all upset and crying, and so Cheryl ends up kicking Larry out of the house, and he ends up, between that and the failed obituary, he goes to sleep at Jeff's house, and then he gets kicked out of Jeff's house because he he accidentally rubbed up against Jeff's mother inappropriately. So he ends up sleeping in his car, and that's how the episode ends. Check them out. They are so funny. Season 2. Let's go. What happens in season 2? Ironically, season 2 is about Thor, who happens to be a professional wrestler. They mention the word sexual blackmail. I'm sorry, I don't remember. I think you're going to have to go watch it to know what he meant by that. So then he's driving around, and Cheryl's friend Wanda Sykes is she's jogging in the area. So he rolls down the window. I know that tush anywhere. Of course, he gets in trouble for that. So, and Wanda's sake, she's freaking funny. She bitches him out a new one. Her and Cheryl. What is your obsession with asses? So then, and of course, he has a problem with this guy Thor. So, what's his name? Larry has to go to Jeff's house because Jeff and Susie were separated. Get some of Jeff's clothes, and so for that favor, Jeff had to return the favor, and so this guy Thor was going to kick Larry's ass. So Larry asked Jeff to go out and let the air out of the tires of Thor's station wagon. Meanwhile, Larry corners his kids and says, "By the way, wrestling is fake." And Jeff's down on his hands and knees, letting the air out, and all of a sudden, this big hulking man in cowboy boots. You see, just his boots. It was so funny, and that's how the episode ended. Thor. Number 3. This one's even funnier. Shaq. So Larry is given tickets to go see the LA Lakers with Richard Lewis, and of course they have courtside seats. And what Larry does is he stretches his legs out so that his legs were dangerously close to the out of bounds line. And what happens? Larry tripped Shaquille O'Neal during during the game. Shaquille gets injured. He's out for 2 months. Larry becomes public enemy #1 in LA. Everybody, he can't walk down the street without people rolling down their window. It's like, you're gonna cost us the season, you prick. Even the janitor in his building's like, oh, Mr. David, you gotta be careful. Too funny. But he makes up to Shaquille O'Neal. He brings him a whole bunch of uh, videotapes because Shaquille O'Neal is a fan of Seinfeld and he's a fan of the the masturbation episode, uh, King of His Domain. So all is forgiven. So surprisingly, now that Larry's back on Shaquille O'Neal's good side, now bad things are happening to him. He gets he gets splashed by a puddle, whereas earlier the 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 car driving down the street with the puddle missed him and hit some lady and drenched her. But that was a funny scene. Check it out. Okay, number 2, Trick or Treat. Poor Larry. He it's Halloween and he hates the holiday just like he hates everything. Well, first, before that happened, he's at this play and he starts singing this song that was actually sang by, um, I don't know what the song is, but he's whistling this tune that was actually sung by a Nazi prison guard who was singing the song as he was sending people to the gas chamber. How morbid. So this Jewish guy who happened to be there and chastises Larry for it and called him a self-loathing Jew. Uh, Ironically, this guy's daughter, later in the episode, her and her friend, they knock on his door. Trick or treat. No costume, no anything. So Larry doesn't want to give them any candy, so he slams the door in their face. So next day he wakes up to they having his door spray painted. Well, first of all, so cuts to the next season. Uh, no, to the next scene, and all of a sudden you hear Cheryl, Larry. So of course he comes down, looks at the front door, and they spray painted the word bald-headed fuck. But he did get revenge on the guy. So at the end of the episode, he hires this big orchestra or band to play that song that the Nazi prison guard was playing right in front of the guy's house, and he's sitting there with his sticks and yada yada yada. Oh, that's Seinfeld. All right, so my number 1 episode of season 2, the doll. So freaking funny. This is all. So Larry is trying to get yet another show on, I think it was HBO. So he's invited over to this guy's house, and the daughter's upstairs, and Larry doesn't want to go to the bathroom downstairs because it doesn't have a locking door. So takes it upon himself to go upstairs, and the girl's playing in her room by herself, and she's playing with this doll. And what does Larry do? Dumbass, he cuts the hair of the doll. So then she screams, Mommy, Larry, cut the head off the doll. Just that man cut the head off the doll. So Larry and Jeff, they had to go heaven and earth to get to get the doll. So they take it from Jeff's daughter Sam. They take the head off, bring the head over to the house. So then all is good. So then so then what happened? The yeah, there was what happened? I forget what happened. So Cheryl had to go to the bathroom. Um, oh yeah, that's right. So Cheryl had to use that same bathroom that didn't lock, and Larry was supposed to guard the door, but he left his post, and somebody walked in on Cheryl, and she screamed. So later in the episode, they're at the theater watching some treatment or whatever, and Larry goes into the men's bathroom, and as he comes out holding his nose, and he says to Cheryl, I can't go in there. It's an olfactory nightmare. So I have to use the ladies' bathroom. So he thinks that the ladies' bathroom's all cleared out. So he goes in there, And that same little girl's in there. She's like, "Oh, thank you for fixing my doll." So she goes, oh, and he puts his water bottle down his pants, and she goes to hug him. Then she runs out of the bathroom. "Mommy, mommy, that bum was in the women's bathroom and there was something hard in his pants." Huge gasp in unison. And you can hear people saying, "I'll kill him." So he's trying to get out. So the episode ends with him trying to get out the bathroom window. She came in through the bathroom window. Too funny. That was season 2 in a nutshell. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. I'm just going to pause for 2 seconds. All right, we're back. We're going to go blitz through season 3 and call it a night. Okay, so we're up to we just completed season 2. Season 3. Oh, come on. There we go. First episode of season 3 now. Season 3 wasn't as funny until you get to the top episodes, but this one was pretty funny. Chet's shirt. So Larry wears this paneled shirt with black down the sides and white, and then a black, buttons, black button panel. And he loves this shirt. And basically, it's called Chet's shirt because this lady who's friends with Cheryl, her husband just passed away, and Larry saw him in that shirt and loved the shirt. There was a picture of this man, Chet, with a shirt. So goes to a lot of trouble to get these shirts. He buys basically 3 shirts. First shirt, he goes to so he's friends with Ted Danson. I don't know why, because Ted Danson's a prick and is always giving him a hard time. I'd punch the guy out. But anyway, so Ted Danson's granddaughter had they had a themed Wizard of Oz party. So Cheryl dressed as what's her name, Dorothy. Uh, Somebody was the Tin Man. Jeff was the Lion. And I think, who was the Scarecrow? I think Ted Danson might have been the Scarecrow, possibly. But anyway, so they're having a pinata, and the girl swings the pinata the wrong way, hits Larry in the mouth, cracks his teeth, bleeds all over his shirt. So there goes shirt number 1. So then the second shirt, he was actually going to give to Ted Danson, but then he wanted to regift it. So they're at the house, and Cheryl's watching Wizard of Oz. So Chet's wife shows up. I forget her name. She sees Larry wearing the paneled shirt, starts crying hysterically because it reminded her of her husband, goes and gives Larry a hug. It's mascara all over his shirt, essentially ruining the second shirt. So then the third shirt that he was going to give to Ted, he wanted to regift it. He grabs one end, Ted grabs the other end, rips it in half. No more shirts. All right. Episode 3. Corpse Sniffing Dog. We are introduced to Oscar, or Oski, as Larry calls him, a German Shepherd, and he's a corpse sniffing dog. So part of the problem is Jeff can't stay at the house because he's allergic to Oscar, and Sam, his daughter, would rather have the dog than her father. Tell that to a kid to give up their dog. So Larry tries to talk to her, he mistakenly switches drinks with her, wine with red grape juice, and she gets drunk and she says, I don't want the dog. I want daddy. So he takes the dog and gives it away. And of course, that's one of the scenes where Susie Green totally bitches him out. Get me the fucking dog. So he has to go back and get the dog. Fortunately, German Oscar responds to a dog whistle, so that's how he gets Oscar back from this other family. And then Oscar goes, and there's a story arc in season 3 that Jeff and Larry and Ted Danson are going partners on a restaurant. And Oscar, the coarse sniffing dog, is just scratching and pawing at this one section of the floor. They think it's a dead body, so they have to exhume. They have to pull up the floor and pull up the plumbing and go down 5 or 6 feet. And they get down there. What does he find? A bra. No, no body. Only happens to Larry. Episode 2. And these one and 2 are freaking hysterical. Episode 2. So first of all, it's Christmas time, and Cheryl, her parents, and her sister are there, and they make cookies. Unbeknownst to Larry, they're actually cookies for a manger scene. So Larry eats all the cookies, and and Cheryl and her sister get all pissed off at him. You ate the baby Jesus. So Larry tries to make it up for him. He's driving through town. He sees this live manger scene at a church where there's actually Mary and Joseph and what are they called? The shepherds and the 3 wise men, and they're all hanging out. So Larry goes to hire them to bring them back to his house to make up for the fact that he ate the manger cookies. So everything's going great until he says to the guy playing Joseph, "Wow, that Mary's a babe." And Joseph, who plays his part very seriously, "You take that back." And they start fighting, and the girl who plays Mary, "Get him, Joseph, get him. Shut up, Mary." And it's so funny. Something happens that I have to reveal the first episode before I can talk about the final scene. But anyway, Larry's going. But after episode 1, we'll talk about how that relates to episode 2. So, episode 1, well, which incidentally, so the end of episode 2, Mary, Joseph, and Larry, they're tussling on the floor, and Cheryl, her sister, and the parents get back, and they're just staring at Larry, shaming him, and he got into another problem. Okay, episode 1, Crazy Eyes Killer. So it all starts where Larry, dope that he is, they're at Wanda and Crazy Eyes Killer's engagement party, and Larry's off to the side stepping on some packing bubbles. So then he meets Crazy Eyes Killer, who's actually a rap star, and he's like he's trying to get Larry to help him write some of his rap. "So you think you can cross me and mess with my shit? I'll crack you and give you some lip." He does it better than I do. So then they're talking. So then At the end, he uses the word motherfucker. So then Larry talks him out of it, and he says, "No, use the word bitch. It's better. It's because you disrespect the person." So it's like, "Oh, you my dog. You my N word." I'll never say that word, but in any event, uh, so then they're talking, and Crazy Ice Kill's like, you know, you got to experiment with the different types of cooch. Too funny. I won't go into any more detail. You got to watch the episode. It's so funny. But later in the episode, um, he accuses Larry. He falsely accuses Larry of telling Wanda that he's been going around town experimenting, going down on women, and causes him costs him the relationship. So at the end, Cheryl says, "What did you say to Crazy Eyes about certain types of fellatio or whatever?" So she convinces Larry to do it to her. Larry gets a pubic hair caught in his throat. So for the end of the episode, he goes, and he's actually filming. He plays a small time mobster in one of Martin Scorsese's movies, and they ruined so many takes because he's going. And then backing up to episode 2, which happened after my episode 1, uh, Mary Joseph, and so Crazy Eyes Killer was episode 8. Um, Mary, Joseph, and Larry was episode 9. So at the end, when Joseph and Larry are tussling around on the floor, and he actually swallowed the pubic hair, and he says to Cheryl and the family, "Ah, it's gone." Do 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 do. Too funny. I hope I didn't bore you to death with this. It's a very fun show. You gotta check it out. Uh, once again, disclaimer, uh, there is no filter on this show. Curse word, sexual innuendo, as far as the eye can see. Too funny, but it's freaking hysterical, but it is definitely an adult show. I wouldn't recommend you have your children watch this unless you're one of those parents who want to teach them when they're very young. This is Jack Toledano speaking for Olonana. So next week I'll try to have the second set of episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm, episodes 4, 5, and 6. Check it out. Funny as shit. Have a good one, folks. Good night.